Hey, tribe. Sheea from Austin today, your Tantra specialist and biohacker and spiritual guru and all that good stuff. Today, I want to talk about a biohacking thing that most people are unaware of. So, I'm just going to clue you into it because you might be struggling with it yourself and completely unaware of it. And that is our thyroid function. So thyroid has a lot to do with your energy levels as well as your ability to lose weight and be at a healthy weight because it's tied in with your metabolism. Most people are compromised because of the fluoride, through toothpaste, through the water, through the chlorine in the water, or if you're in like pools a lot that are chlorinated, among other things, gluten sensitivity affects our thyroid, and among other things, just toxins in general. And if we are at all deficient in any of the nutrients related to the thyroid, it also can cause these problems. And a lot of people get diagnosed themselves, or a doctor might diagnose them. Usually the doctor always says your thyroid is within normal levels, and it's not. That's common. So it's not really treated very well unless you're with like a functional medicine person or naturopath who knows what to look for. And thank God there is a lot of great education on YouTube. I just recently found Dr. Winston Childs, and I bought his products that are great and very supportive because for years, I mean, decades, honestly, have been just taking natural thyroid support, like precursors and such, because my mom became aware that her thyroid was low, and I had all the symptoms too at that time. And so I've literally been just taking thyroid support. It's something you take first thing in the morning upon waking. And I guess the medication versions are Synthroid, which doesn't really do the job because it's only T4 oriented, and T3 is really the heavy hitter. And that you can get through Armor thyroid medication, which is fine. It's funny. It's interesting. It's a certain method. It sounds weird, but it works the best, which is when you actually they call them glandulars. And so, like, to get thyroid gland tissue, usually from a bovine source, because they're the closest to us as far as the tissue structure, is very effective. And so I'm going to show you the products that I got from Dr. Childs. He has like a weight loss stack and a thyroid support stack and other supportive supplements for the overall. And he gives a 20% off discount for the first timers, who sign up for his emails or whatever. So Spirit brought me across his channel, and I was so grateful because I could tell that something was up. It a lot of times will, as we age, kind of falter as we go along, even, need even more support. That's what I found. As I've aged, I've needed to supplement more. And, typical things like iodine, like usually in liquid form, it's like a tincture. I usually, whenever I do anything, I approach it with like a multi-dimensional approach. So I'm hitting it from all sides. So I usually take a couple different supplements that are supportive, that literally, say some kind of thyroid support supplement that will have any combination of iodine, seaweed, bladder rack, which is a seaweed, L-tyrosine, which is a precursor, and then the supportive supplements around the thyroid, which I found I was deficient in quite a bit, actually, recently. And so I'm taking those now, thanks to Dr. Childs. He has very educational videos on his YouTube channel that are quite impressive. So you become a pro at it after listening to him. And so those nutrients that are important to have, sufficient levels are vitamin D, selenium, potassium, C. There's a couple different B vitamins that are very specific B vitamins that are involved in the process, and I'll go over this more when I show you his supplements. His website is restartmed.com. So he's out of Mesa, Arizona, and so grateful to him because he specializes in this, as there are certain doctors out there as well, and you really need a specialist to do it right, because they always just give you T4, which doesn't work most of the time. Most people are deficient in D3, and Armour, that medication can work. But I always like to go natural if I can, or at least put it off as long as I can, taking any kind of medication. And so the heavy hitter here in the stack that I got is called Thyroid Adrenal Reset Complex. So this is the one that has the different tissues, like it even has spleen and adrenal glandulars in there in addition to the thyroid one, because usually those are involved as well. Adrenal fatigue is something that women also live with. Most of us are living with it along with our thyroid low functioning, and most women don't know that necessarily. They're just wondering why they're tired all the time. And so symptoms are that you have cold hands and feet no matter what. You can have hair loss, you're sluggish, tired, weight gain, which doesn't necessarily make sense. Like, for instance, I used to take this one natural supplement for a long time when I was younger, and when I ran out, I literally gained 10 pounds in 1 week because I didn't have that thyroid support. And it's not an easy one to find. It has to be special ordered and stuff. So that lets you know how important our thyroid is for weight control and metabolism and all that. And so anyway, I'm suggesting that if you have any of the symptoms like that, there's even constipation as part of it, and it's just part of our lifestyle almost. Everyone's compromised, really, most of the time. It's called hypothyroid, or Hashimoto's is like the technical term. But at any rate, that is kind of the heavy hitter here. And he has all these other nutrients in here that are supportive of, the whole neural pathways that contribute to having the thyroid be at its optimal. And it is dark enough in here that I can't read it very well. One of the other ones is he has a thyroid, which is a combination of, the microbiome type probiotics to make sure your gut is working right. Because if it's not, everything gets compromised, right? He has so many success stories, so that's why it's really impressive. He's really turned things around for his clients. He also has this thing called leptin resistance RX, because he does educate how a lot of us are leptin resistant when we have a thyroid sluggishness. And he educates about that on his channel, so I recommend you listen to it, because I wasn't really as aware of leptin in that way. And then there's essential T2. So we talked about T3 and T4. Well, T2 is also, one of those things that are needed on a smaller scale, but some people are deficient in it. So here's that piece. And then the last one, I'm going to show you is T3 conversion booster, because our body is supposed to be able to convert, T4 to T3, but a lot of times it just doesn't because we're deficient in whatever, and we're compromised in whatever way that prevents that from happening. So this is an example of what helps that along, and there's quite a few ingredients here to assist. Things like ashwagandha and rhodiola, which usually come in tincture forms, are adaptogens that also help you as far as your adrenal and thyroid, because adaptogens just help you handle stress better, just like B vitamins do. So I wanted to share this because it was such a great resource, and I got so excited and happy because a lot of times if your thyroid is low, you're very easily fall into the pitfall of depression as well, because you're sluggish, you're tired all the time, and it's really hard to be productive when you don't feel that great in your body. A lot of times you just feel crappy, or you're just like, you feel like you could just take a nap at any moment, and it's not real fun. It is a little depressing. And a lot of times they'll put you on antidepressants, and they're always wanting to put you on medication, and that's the last thing we want, because those have side effects and they actually screw things up even worse. It doesn't take care of the root issue that's needing to be supported by giving you what you need. It's just covering up symptoms, really. So anyway, these are some examples of one way you could go, aside from, it's pretty easy to order, like off Amazon. There's, iodine tincture. Oh, selenium is another important one, if I forgot to mention that, as far as a nutrient that is key to the functioning of your thyroid. And I did tend to be deficient in most of those nutrients that they were talking about, and so I feel really supported by having this, and I just started literally a couple days ago, so I already noticed a difference, and I'm looking forward to kind of having it in my system enough to where it's just putting me on a higher vibration, basically, with all that. So I just wanted to share that because I have a lot of girlfriends come to me. My first business before I became a Tantra specialist was in the health and wellness nutrition field, because I grew up in it and I love to geek out on it and biohack and all that good stuff. And a lot of times I'll have girlfriends come to me and like, I can't lose weight, and no matter what I do, and I'm doing everything right. And believe me, I know. And I'm like, well, what are you doing to support your thyroid? And a lot of times they're not doing anything. So you can just forget about losing weight if your thyroid isn't working right. So this is really key. And then you feel a lot better too, because it has everything to do with energy and your metabolism. And of course, I always, I know enough to be my own physician, so to speak, layperson that, knows how to read labels and have taken care of myself without traditional doctors. And what was I going to say about that? I forgot what I was leading up to there, sorry. But at any rate, it's something to be aware of, because if you're not directly affected by this, most likely someone in your family is, and they say most people are, and it's just not really that widely known out there around it. So, it's something that I would suggest supporting. Oh, that's what I was going to say. Because I do this myself, with not necessarily having to take blood tests every time I think I'm deficient in something. The way I knew, because I kind of would, up my dose, and the reason I would know if I was taking a little bit too much is it would just keep me up at night, as far as like not being tired at bedtime, and then I back off a little bit, and that was always my gauge, because I like to get tired at a certain time. Ayurveda tells us that around 10 o'clock is the ideal time, because any sleep you get before midnight is like primo. for the body and in its regenerative anti-aging processes. So that's what they suggest. And if I found that I was just wide awake, around that time, I knew that I probably need to back off on my thyroid support, because it gives you energy, right? And so you'll just find that you're not tired, and then you can just adjust accordingly, right? And kind of play with it until you get just the right amount for when you want to wake up and when you want to go to bed. So that's it for today, my beautiful tribe. I hope that's helpful. Let me know if there's anything else that you have found that maybe has been really effective for you. I know, of course, there's certain foods that are really key, that are high in those nutrients that, are helpful. Like fish is naturally high in iodine, and Brazil nuts are naturally high in selenium. You can take like 3 Brazil nuts before bed at night. It's also good for testosterone, so that's a practice I have. What else? Well, nothing, I guess, is coming to mind right now that would stand out other than, like the typical green leafy vegetables and that kind of thing. So, but usually avoid gluten, sugar, dairy, for the most part, because they're inflammatory and usually don't help anything. So, but yeah, share if there's anything you're doing, or a little bit of your story, or any tips or biohacks around this below, and we can get our thyroids optimal together.